Hi, I'm Lugo, author, illustrator, comic creator, and the art director for Kung Fu magazine for more than 20 years. But I'm here to talk to you about a project that's really special to me. It's the middle grade graphic novel, A Tiger's Tale. Imagine the story of tigers and dragons and martial artists and monsters. So when I launched the campaign for A Tiger's Tale Volume 1, I did not know what to expect, but it succeeded thanks to a group of passionate backers. It was also awarded the Make More Comics art grant that year and was later featured as part of an art gallery exhibit. And that's why I'm coming to Kickstarter, to cover production fees, printing, copy editing, things like that. Books completed, with the exception of a few pages I've set aside for color over the course of the campaign. This turned out to be a popular feature of Volume 1's campaign, so I thought I'd bring it back for Volume 2. I think it's going to be great fun for everyone. Hope you'll support the campaign. I'm very excited about it. Thanks for stopping by.
As a kid, I loved Kung Fu movies. So I went to Chinatown, trained with a wise teacher, and became a Kung Fu master. Sounds simple, right? Not really. My journey, like the study of Kung Fu, was as arduous as it was rewarding, filled with as many secrets as revelations and as much heartache as triumph. It's a defining moment in my life, and while I began studying Kung Fu to learn how to fight, what I discovered was a way to live. Martial arts never came easy to me. I was far from talented, and even farther from being the chosen one. It was only through years of tenacious perseverance that I was able to make steady progress. And so, I was surprised when my master told me that I should teach Kung Fu and share the art outside of Chinatown. I did just that and taught Kung Fu to my own students for 20 years. I always wanted to do more to share the art of Kung Fu with others, but was limited by only being able to teach those within my immediate area. What about the rest of the world? Then one day, I had one of the deepest insights about Kung Fu. I realized that the punches, kicks, throws, and myriad of martial maneuvers are merely the delivery system for the true essence of Kung Fu, the philosophy and way of life. Having worked for years as a professional artist and storyteller in film, animation, video games, and comic books, I realized that I could draw upon this unique skill set to share my passion for Kung Fu with the greater world. And so I created Shadow Ghost, a Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master. The first issue is created entirely by myself, from story and art to colors and lettering. Every panel is filled with unprecedented accuracy in its depiction of Kung Fu by a comic book creator who knows from first-hand experience what it means to be a Kung Fu master. Shadow Ghost is a martial arts coming-of-age story about a young man whose search for the truth about a legendary hero leads him to study Kung Fu, and through a twist of fate, becomes part of the legend himself. For the first time in comic book history, you can immerse yourself further in each issue with Kung Fu skills technology, powered by Tiger Crane Kung Fu. Scan the QR code at the back of the comic and follow an exclusive link to an online instructional video where I teach you Kung Fu techniques featured in the series. With Kung Fu skills technology, you can do more than just read about the Shadow Ghost saga. You can become a part of it. The first issue is completely finished and ready for print. All that's needed is for you to make a pledge of support so that we can fund the printing of the first issue. Together, we can share the wisdom of Kung Fu with the greater world. Shadow Ghost is the story of Kung Fu. It's about the people, the art, the culture, and the philosophy. It's my story and the story of those that I've learned from, taught, fought, and loved. Join me and become part of the vibrant legacy in a place and time where we might not be the chosen one, but where we can make a choice to be part of something bigger and greater than just ourselves. I'm Sifu Kurtis Fujita, and this is Shadow Ghost, the Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master. All right. Hello, everybody. Hey, Patrick.
Hey, Curtis, how are you?
Good, good. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. So before we get started, we'll just do a quick little bit introduction. This is the Comics Foo Show, and Patrick is so good at describing what the show is. I'm going to hand it over to Patrick. So, Patrick, if you'd be so kind to go ahead.
Yeah, I should pick it up right after you say
Exactly.
Comics Foo Show, where we stand at the crossroads between comics, kung fu, and all sorts of pop culture.
Exactly. Perfect, as always. So I'm Kurtis Fujita. I'm a comic book creator. I'm also a kung fu instructor. And my new project is called Shadow Ghost. It's the kung fu comic by a kung fu master on Kickstarter right now. So you can check that out. And I'll hand the baton over to Patrick, and Patrick can tell you a little about himself.
I'm Patrick Lugo, known as Plugo online, author, illustrator, comic creator. Volume 2 of my acclaimed kung fu graphic novel, A Tiger's Tale, is also on Kickstarter and was just funded yesterday.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, I woke up to the news. Well, not really woke up, but by the time I got to, my email, everyone was already asking, are you going to announce that it's happened? So I was playing catch up. But Curtis, tell me, you've got a few announcements that you're about to present.
Yes. So currently, Shadow Ghost #1 is at 100, I believe 12% funded. So we're doing well. Still got a little over 20 days left in the campaign. So it's time for stretch goals. And so just for those that don't know, that's just kind of if we kind of supersede our initial funding and hit some other goals, we'll have some additional rewards, things like that, incentives to bring other people in, and just for our current backers to check out. So I'm going to go ahead and explain to you what we're going to do. So our first stretch goal is actually, it's an evolution, I'd say, of the common backers page. So if you crowdfund comics, you usually get your name in the back of the book, whether it's the PDF version or the physical version, where it lists all the backers. So I wanted to take that one step further. And, if you've ever watched the end of a movie, which I'm sure you have, TV show, you see the end credits rolling and see all the people responsible for bringing that thing to life. That's what we're doing here. So it's actually going to be, you will get an online video that you can share with people, credit sequence for Shadow Ghost #1 with all our backers, physical and digital tiers. And I'm going to go ahead and just give you a quick look at that. So this is what it looks like. And so as you can see, these are all different names, but this is a rough idea of what it looks like. So your name could be there. You get bragging rights. You can show this off to your family, friends. Look what I did. Look what I was part of. And we'll go ahead and have some music with it as well. I'm going to start talking to our good friend of the show, Capitan Wallace, and maybe Wallace will supply some music for it. So you have music in the background. And that's essentially what it is.
And this will be hosted on the Shadow Ghost website?
Yeah, probably on the Shadow Ghost website. It might be on our Comics Foo site, different places, and it'll be easy for you to go ahead and check out. But yeah, definitely it'll be on shadowghost.com because again, our backers helped make this a reality. So
right, and I mean, they're gonna want to be able to share that link, right? They're gonna want to have a convenient way that they could post that, when they're like, got to prove their credentials,
Exactly. So this is great stuff. So you can definitely do that. So we're going to do that at the $4,100 mark. All right. So a little over maybe $300, $350, something around there more. And you can get your name in the credit sequence. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you. And, but let's get to the thing that's most important is our guest. So Patrick,
yes. Okay. So
please go ahead.
I have another longtime friend, one of the old school internet buddies. However, we have hung out in person. We actually went to Burning Man together many years. At the turn of the century, I could say that now. But I have his bio right here. So let me tell you, Grant Balfour is a writer, editor, musician, mystic, and obscurantist. His exposés on Mothman and WD-40 miracle cures have appeared in Sun and the Weekly World News. His poetry has appeared in Cordite. His travel logs have appeared in Porthole Cruise and Travel and Seabourn Club Herald. Should that be the Seabourn Club Herald? We'll have to ask him. And he is the founder of the Guild of Scientific Troubadours. He's available to officiate weddings or for probability consultations for a nominal fee. And that's his abridged bio, because you know, he's a man of many stories. Let me introduce you to Grant Balfour.
Hey, Grant.
Hey. Applause.
Applause. How you doing?
Okay. I think I'll make it. You?
Good. I'm getting by. All
right. That's good.
Yeah. So this is good. You have some fascinating pedigree. I can't wait to hear more about all these exciting things.
They're not that exciting. It's just stuff.
just
stuff I do. I don't know. I don't know how it all strings together. I just do it.
Okay. Excellent. And how long have both you, Patrick, and Grant, how long have you known each other for now?
Since the turn of the century, we were, you know, part of some old school message boards, you know, that were devoted to comics, etc. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we'd kept in touch since. We both had a love for comics. We both liked crazy subject matter writing. I mean, Grant's, and, you know, also like the martial arts and that whole realm of subject matter has been something that we talked a lot about. In fact, Grant was pivotal in helping me with the back matter for volume 1 of A Tiger's Tale. Not just his editing, but his research skills were key.
Yeah, I think I made a glossary for that, right?
Exactly. So that really, you know, and it was expansive, and we still have more of that to add for volume 2. So, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. You know, we've pitched a few wild comic ideas to different places. We've got we've always, you know, batted back and forth, just different concepts. You know, we tried to figure out if we can make time to do push hands while we were hanging out at Burning Man that one year, but
I remember that, yeah.
The dust storms, it was too nuts. You know, so the list goes on.
You're also in a Ganesh costume. Let's be fair. You have 4 arms. It's hard to do push hands with 4 arms.
Who somebody cosplayed as Lord Ganesh?
Yeah, I built.
It was the most amazing thing I've seen.
Wow.
He and his lady were both inside the costume, so all 4 arms were active.
No way. That is so cool.
I think we gave some people there, like, they still have trouble dealing with the memories, probably. Because Ganesh was alive, walking down the street, big elephant head trunk, absolutely realistic. All 4 arms were doing stuff.
That is so
slow and ponderous, removing everybody's obstacles, as Ganesh does.
Yes, as he's wont to do.
But yeah,
that is amazing. Patrick, do you have photos or anything? This is amazing.
I think I've got like maybe 10 seconds of footage on something. It might even be like on Super 8 tape or something like that.
Wow.
But it's mostly of the head. It was a cool shot because it was the wind, the ears flapping in the breeze, the head. You know, we had LEDs in the eyes, so they glowed.
That is cool.
But
I think we changed the people's lives.
Later on, during one of the dust storms, we face planted, and that was a whole other epic. You know, trying to get up in a 2-person costume, you know, is not easy. But maybe that was hubris trying to impersonate.
Yeah, exactly.
God. Who knows, right? Sacrifice was always involved.
And this was early on. I mean, I don't know the history of Burning Man. I know it's been around for quite a while, but this was probably early on in its development, or had it been
still in the 90s, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, 98, 99, maybe 2000, somewhere right at the turn of those things. So not like when it was in San Francisco, right? We'd have to talk to Gene Ching about that.
Right.
But, you know, before it became like a pop-up Las Vegas that it is now, you know?
Yeah, it was like... It was a year when they were charging for tickets, but it was still like double digits and not triple.
Mm.
Like the first year I went, they were charging for tickets, but there wasn't really a fence. So people just kind of showed up, and some people went through the gate and some people just went over land, and there you were.
Yeah.
But but yeah, this was 2 or 3 years after that. So early on, yeah.
Very cool.
They did not have the firing range anymore.
Firing range?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
The history of Burning Man is long and not
archaic.
what you would expect.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a San Francisco institution in the weirdest ways, you know.
Yeah.
For something that purports to be like anti-institutional, but
Oh yeah, no, it's very well. I can't speak to it now. I haven't been since 2000, I think.
Oh.
Well, it's like that saying about New Yorkers, right? Like I grew up in New York, and a saying I didn't learn until after having spent half my life in the Bay Area is that you become a New Yorker when you become nostalgic for how New York used to be.
I grew up in South Florida. I still live here, and I'm surrounded by nostalgia for New York, how it used to be.
Oh, I bet.
This is where New York goes to retire.
That's awesome.
If you ever watch Seinfeld, it's accurate. His parents.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Hi, my parents retired there.
Yep.
Yeah, my grandparents. I had some grandparents that were over there. So yeah, there you go.
Bring him, he says. So I have your list of fight scenes. I don't know if we want to jump straight into that. If Kurtis has any questions about any of the headlines that you've been key in, and Kurtis, we were talking before the show, and so if you notice Grant like grabbing his phone and looking down, it's because of a headline of some sort.
Oh yeah, I actually put my phone away, and I'm making sure that it's not going to ring wherever I put it. I put it somewhere else.
Weekly world news. Of course, I think we all, or myself, like I remember taking that to my current events class and doing bad child escapes from lab.
Bad boy, yeah.
Bad boy, yeah, bad boy, yeah. And it was not successful because I was laughing the whole time I was supposed to give my current report and had to leave the classroom momentarily. But an institution, if you will, of the mysterious kind,
Yeah.
So that tell me a little bit about that, because that's pretty cool that you
that I was involved with that.
Yeah.
Yes. I actually wrote for a paper called Sun, but then we fused with the Weekly World News. So I at one point was basically my brag is I was basically the editor of the last print version of the Weekly World News, but that was as an insert in Sun. But I did write for the Weekly World News at some point, and I can tell you, oh man, there's so much I could tell you.
I'm all ears.
Well, I don't really want to put you on the spot, but when did you give this paper? What year was that? When you had Bad Boy in current events?
Like 94, 93.
Oh wow, okay, so that's
Yeah.
like that's like genuine Bat Boy. Okay, that story. If it was the original story, and it probably was one of the first two.
Yeah.
Bat Boy started as an art project by Dick Culpa, who actually you may know if you're really deep into comics trivia. He had done some cartooning. He's put out some little graphic novel stuff. And at one point he bought Cracked magazine back when Cracked was the like a knockoff of Mad.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It kind of went under, and then he bought the name, and he was trying to get like a lot of old comics guys to go do it. So Bat Boy is actually his invention, and then the story was actually written by the byline is something different, but the words came from Bob Lind, who you may know if you're a fan of 1960s rock music. He had a top 5 hit, The Elusive Butterfly of Love, 1966.
Nice.
Very West Coast, like folk rock, Jack Nitzsche strings.
Wow.
So yeah, that was everybody in that business was a character. And I sort of came into it because my dad had been a reporter at the Inquirer, and I am not an Inquirer type person. And I went to graduate school, and I got an undergraduate degree most people can't even pronounce, and a graduate degree in English. And I was like, I want to be a professor. These classes cost too much. What can I do? And I wound up working for my dad, and then he was golfing with the guy who was editing one of the tabloids.
Wow.
It's like, you need a writer? I know a writer. He's not very hard-nosed with the interviews, but he can do the odd stuff. So yeah, I did the odd stuff.
That is cool.
And that's how I got into it.
Wow.
So yeah, I think Patrick and I share a publishing background as well as a fondness for the weird background.
Definitely. And then you mentioning something about the Mothman and
yeah, that was a regular sort of thing with the paranormal,
yeah.
paranormal and let's call it alternative medicine.
Sure.
And oddly, like a lot of fringe science, which is actually real science. We actually, like, all the tabloids had much more fact checking than people think.
That's what I've heard. You know, it's funny. Like, have you ever? It's maybe kind of out of left field, but have you both ever seen this show called this series online called Hellier? Have you seen Hellier? It has to do with the Mothman and the Goblin Children in Hellier, Kentucky.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. There's like the Bell Witches around there and all that stuff.
Yeah. That deeply fascinating. As somebody, because we all have that martial arts background, that also is kind of those things where it's like, how should I say this? There's a certain narrative about what's real, what's factual, what's accurate. And if you go off the beaten path, you start to realize that narrative is controlled by a certain, different interest than maybe not everybody has the same interest. And you start to realize that there's different aspects to truth, right? And there's different kind of lost histories and things like that. I recall being in mainland China, and I was at this one school on top of this mountain in the Nanchang region, and and there's one person that I was told to there's an internal school, and I was told to push on one of the students' stomachs. And I was pushing on his stomach, and then he just twitched and shouted, and he shot me back like 10 feet just by this flex of his stomach. And the immediate reaction afterwards was like, oh, nobody told him he couldn't do that. Like he grew up without that glass ceiling saying this is what's real, this is it. And so that's great that it's like those different kind of schools of mystery. So, but fascinating.
So my question then is, can you no-touch knockout the Mothman when he's overhead?
See, the Mothman is an interesting thing because it's at that boundary between what's physically real and what's like a hallucinatory thing that people see. Mm-hmm. Like, it's very hard to tell with some of those sightings what exactly was going on. And even the way that, the famous thing is the Mothman prophecies, the fact that they really were like apparitions that seemed to be warning of an event, the bridge collapse over the Spring River, is like, that's not like a normal guy in a suit kind of thing. Like there's some other element going on where maybe it's just the way that our brains put stories together, or it's hard to.
Well, maybe we need to rewind just a little bit to give just what is
do we need to summarize the Mothman
just a little bit.
We talk about Injured Cold and go into that like immediately, but if you want to, we'll backtrack a hair. So,
Grant, who's the Mothman?
Yeah.
The series of sightings that overlap with the UFO lore and Bigfoot lore that took place around Point Pleasant, West Virginia in 1960. I can't remember the exact year. 68, maybe. Seemed to be centered around a TNT factory up in the mountains there, which is kind of basically like, weird abandoned building. And people in the area started reporting seeing this flying object, and they didn't describe it as like a human necessarily at first, but it was like a flying object that was human shaped, but it had wings like a moth that were sort of double lobed and red glowing eyes. And there's certain things about it where they described it in terms of like demonic thing, like they felt something weird, and then they looked around and there's this ominous, like 7 foot tall, 8 foot tall creature. But some parts of it were also very mechanical, like it's associated with a buzzing noise. And there seemed to be this whirring when it stood there, and they saw like it might have been a robot or somebody in a mechanical suit like Iron Man. And then the sightings, there weren't like direct communication that I recall, but they seemed to grow in frequency and then stopped after there was this major disaster in the nearby river between Ohio and West Virginia. It's the Silver River. the bridge collapsed. A lot of people lost their lives, but maybe the Mothman was trying to warn people, or maybe not. Maybe it's just a weird coincidence. And that's my no research, top of head summary of the Mothman story. And then it continues from there.
It culminates in the Richard Gere movie.
Yeah, it culminates in the Richard Gere movie. There was actually a weird thing in the 70s, like after that, way away, people probably hadn't heard about the West Virginia Mothman in Cornwall, England. Only they called it the Owl Man, but it was very similar. And it started with kids who were out on a school field trip in the woods, and they were visiting some like little church in a historic church in the woods in Cornwall. I can't remember where, but they saw like this figure, 7 foot tall humanoid, same kind of weird circular wings, strange like mask-like head, seemed artificial, but flying up to the steeple of the church is how I remember it. Yeah, the Cornwall Owl Man, something that tied in with the Mothman.
I always find it fascinating, like you're talking about Point Pleasant and all those kind of places when these kind of strange things happen in a place where I don't want to like generalize, but the demographic you wouldn't think would be into something that fantastical, and the people that are interviewed are just like real salt of the earth people that like they, it's different. If it happened in a metropolitan city where there's a lot of people with esoteric kind of belief systems and things like that, but when it's places like Point Pleasant and all those kind of places, just it's fascinating, right?
Yeah, and there are people who complain like, damn thing upset my dogs.
Yeah.
Like they have other things to worry about. They're not like, I don't know. I always think people are people, and maybe it's just you I don't know. There's a lot of I don't know. I'm doing the same gesture. It's like
definitely
words fail after a while. Like you can't. These things defy categories.
Oh yeah, and that whole thing with the Mothman, right? There was also UFO sighting, right?
Yeah,
the interactions with you, like that's what's interesting. I wish we were sponsored, but that Hellier series starts to connect with the Mothman prophecies.
Oh yeah.
It has to connect with that claim to be alien injured cold, and starts to go into a tangent about him and what happened after that.
Oh, cool.
That interaction. So it's fascinating stuff.
Are there Men in Black in that too? That was a big part of the Mothman thing too.
I think it's touched upon. The whole thing is about. They talk a lot about synchronicity, how all these seemingly disparate things start to connect, and it's shot really well, really really nice series. But that's
it out. I wrote it down.
Have you? Was that? And I kind of said to Patrick too. Were both of you always interested in this kind of off the beaten path kind of view on things? Yeah, from the get-go, it was never like an epiphany or something like that.
In Search of Sasquatch, man.
Yeah.
Leonard Nimoy gave me nightmares.
Well, I thought that was the Bilbo Baggins song. That gave me nightmares. I
grew up with my dad in the tabloids, so I knew like UFO researchers would be over. And I remember doing a report when I must have been younger than when you were doing Bat Boy, because it was third grade, I think. And I'd forgot to do the visual aid for the report. So one of my earliest memories is frantically drawing, sketching a picture of the Loch Ness Monster.
Wow. Nice.
On the chalkboard. I had no artistic ability. I was copying a black and white photograph that I remembered that I didn't use as a visual aid because I forgot the book.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what, like, I was giving a report on the Loch Ness Monster in school.
That's cool, because then it gives that kind of eyewitness report, like, when there's the and you just see these, kind of like
waves, and here's this is like a neck.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the photo looks like. Teacher didn't buy it.
Wow.
Yeah, one of my earliest self-created or original character superhero teams was Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot,
nice,
and a couple of others teaming up.
You have to have some gray aliens, right? You got some grays in there?
Yeah, I think that there was definitely some alien action. They might have been little green men, though.
Oh, good, yeah.
And then there was something else. I think it might have just been like a ghost or like a glowing skeleton on fire, that sort of thing.
Hey, Mudasar.
So that kind of, my mom was a big fan of the Weekly World News, so I kind of picked it up early. I remember like bringing it to an art class early on when they said bring a newspaper, because we're gonna look
beautiful.
for reference and draw from the newspaper. And I'm like, Wolf Boy, I want to draw Wolf Boy, you know?
Nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember hearing from somebody around the time we went to Burning Man, actually. I met a guy who'd been a researcher in Antarctica. So this was just early days of the internet. And he said that Weekly World News were like money down there in McMurdo and the research labs, because they didn't have much else to read. And the news never got old. It's like, it's not really current. Mm-hmm. So they would just trade stacks of Weekly World News around, like between different base camps.
That's cool.
That did my heart good.
That's pretty awesome.
That's really awesome.
So,
apparently they don't anymore. I met some new Antarctica guys, and they have the internet now. They don't need the paper anymore.
They don't need. I mean, that's pretty much the case everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But speaking of the internet, is this how the Guild of Scientists? Are we kind of stumbling across the secret origin of the Guild of Scientific Troubadours here?
Not exactly, but it's a thing that I do. I think it was originally inspired by Jonathan Colton, who was doing these. He styled himself as the official troubadour of Popular Science magazine. I think it was back in 2004. I'm like, I write songs about science all the time. There needs to be more scientific troubadours. Let's have a guild. And so I set up a website at a time when everybody setting up a website, and said, hey, anybody who wants to, you just write a song about science and I'll put it up here. And it's basically been me. But once a month, I churn out a song about some recent scientific research. Some of them are awful, and I will admit that freely. A lot of them are highly experimental, in the Negative Land vein, if you remember Negative Land. But some of them, I don't know, I think come out pretty well. Little catchy pop songs about cloning Vikings from old DNA. And
nice.
But wouldn't that be popular, like in the STEM circles?
I think so. I like the site / band, if you want to call it that, / project has never taken off musically. Like, I think it's been featured in some stuff 10 years ago. Like there's a geek pop thing in Britain. Yeah, there you go. There's some art. But
that's awesome.
The only write-up that I got that I really was proud of was when I got reviewed in New Scientist. I was like, I made it. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, so once a week I try to get some science art up in the new thing in the slideshow, and then once a month on the 23rd, usually winds up being the 24th because I'm a slacker, some kind of new song about something.
That's great. So you're interested in science, but then you also are interested in all this kind of mysterious stuff. Do you feel that everything can be explained by science kind of thing and it just hasn't been proven yet? Or do you feel like some things defy those constraints? I
don't think I could have answered this question this way like a year ago, but I think what I really am interested in is less science and the unexplained as I am the way that our brains try to explain things. Like, I think that's where my interests have always been, like interpreting stuff.
Sure.
So how we process things, which actually, if I want to circle back to martial arts, is something that I began realizing when I was taking Tai Chi, like back in the day. Like, a lot of what gets commonly explained away as Chi seemed to me to be like just efficiency. Like, it's just a different way of, like, your body's moving more efficiently when you're centered. Mm-hmm. And you can absolutely feel it. It's an energy that fills you, but it's not like an energy. It's more like, oh, everything's just flows and we're in a different frame, and it's just a different way of looking at this thing. So it's a real phenomena, but it's not the phenomena that it feels like it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of the things is distilling away from the mysticism,
right,
and the scientific method, and kind of finding something in between,
Yeah, something that's functional.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm very interested in myself. Yeah, like
that's always Patrick was alluding to the no touch hit kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And the funny thing is everything is still based on the idea of having proper form, proper framework, all those things. It's not like, Professor X, you're just kind of like out mentally. It's still based in this reality, and I think that's the thing that people forget, or even I hate to say it, even some masters forget. They get a little high on their horse and go a different route. So
yeah, well, I think people also get in the habit of explaining things in a certain way to themselves, and you just get like, that explanation is not complete. They never are. So it's a little bit more.
Sorry, Patrick, you're saying?
No, I was just gonna bring up Master of the Iron Crotch, Grandmaster Tu Jin Chen.
Yes.
As an example of someone who kind of defies physics with his chi skills. My dog has just arrived on set.
Okay, I thought you might be exercising a little iron crotch there.
No. And so I mentioned him because like he'll talk about like the hard and soft, right? Like these feats, but then the importance of like balancing out the hard stuff with his art skills or with music playing.
Oh yeah.
But my dog stole my idea. My train of thought just got derailed.
It's funny to talk about like the metaphysical and the physical. I still remember, I met some guy who had done. It's always the people who do a little bit of martial arts are the most dangerous, right? Because they physically they do the craziest stuff, and also their theories are just completely insane. And I met some guy did a couple years of martial arts. Won't say who the master is. And he was talking to me, and he saw me doing something, and I've been in it for a minute, and he goes, "So are you pulling the chi from your dan?" Because when my seafood training, I pull the chi to my dantian and I spiral the energy out into a strike and this. So I was like, well, that's nice. And then he wanted to spar, and I don't like to spar with people I don't know because you never know what's going to happen. And he just threw a wild swing at me just to test me, and I forget. I think I blocked.
Oh, that's charming.
Yeah, exactly. So I blocked it. I think I backhanded him, and he goes, and I hit him across the face, and he goes, "Oh my gosh, what did you do? Did you spiral the chi through the dantian and let it erupt into the ging in your head?" I said, "No, dude, I smacked you in the face." Like it's it's like there, and it's like you can have these. You would say head in the clouds, feet on the ground, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That is a beautiful metaphysical lesson right there.
Oh yeah,
I think
yeah, exactly. But. So Tai Chi, can you tell me? I mean, hold on.
But really don't want to lean too much on that because I was a lousy student, but I did learn from Sifu Weilin Huang in Miami, came from Foshan, and my practice skills my dedication is not good. Like every now and again, I'll like wave hands as clouds in a line when I'm waiting for something. Or if my back hurts, I'll start like doing a little doyu kind of stuff. But I have not kept up with practice. I'm sorry.
Well, the fact that push hands and Patrick knows push hands. I mean, push hands is always a thing. Like, what type of Tai Chi did you learn? I mean, I can't tell you how many people you talk to. Tai Chi. Oh, do you do push hands? What's that? And you go, oh, I rec center much. It's kind of that's the
we had these classes in an outdoor pavilion in the middle of a park in an area that most people I think would define as sketchy.
Uh-huh.
So there's always like a lot of pedestrians going by, but it was in Miami, and people would sometimes like just sit and watch us like do push hands or do like weird applications because we'd be yanking at each other a lot. Like, is there a mass mugging going on? What is happening?
A very slow motion rumble, right?
Yeah. Well, some of it was actually pretty quick when we were kind of like trying to get off the. Where's your center? But yeah, applications were always a big part of it, which is something that mattered to me more than I thought it would. Like, wasn't what I signed up for necessarily.
Sure.
But it was very important in learning what the heck is going on.
That's great. Yeah, the public martial arts practice is always a funny thing. Like I had a friend who did Chen Tai Chi, who does Chen Tai Chi, right?
Oh yeah.
Very deep into it, and he was doing it in the park. And ego gets the better. He's doing the single whip, and he's feeling the chi, he's feeling so cool. And this little girl and her father are watching him, and he's in his mind, oh, I look so cool. Look how zen I am. And the little girl, he hears him her say to Dad, she goes, "Daddy, what is that man doing?" And he goes, "Pay no attention to him, honey. He's a mime." And then they walk away. It's like, oh, humble humility. It's like, now he's trapped in the box. Exactly. Was it the rope thing or something?
Oh man.
Those are the closed door techniques.
Yeah, literally.
I think Marcel Marceau could probably grab some peaches.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh man.
Did you ever read the Gone Away World? Nick Harkaway, another guy from one of the message boards we were on, Patrick. Did you ever read his first novel?
No, what's it called?
Oh, it's called The Gone Away World. Gone Away, like the world that's gone away. It's a weird, it's beautiful. It's a post-apocalyptic story, but the apocalypse is caused by a bomb that caused like reality to come unmoored.
Wow.
So, but it does end in a climactic battle between ninjas and mimes.
Oh my gosh.
It's beautiful.
I've always wanted that, and I didn't even know it.
Yeah, it is such a great climax. I mean, fight scene that is one of the best I've ever read. Not a comic book, actual novel.
Wow.
Where's the HBO series for that?
He needs one for that, man.
I forget which comedian, but I heard him say once, like one of his one-liners was he goes, today I shot a mime just so I could hear him scream.
Unfair.
Talk about a nihilistic cry. So yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, Patrick. Go ahead.
No, keep going, Curtis. I love it.
This legendary message board. Like, so like, what was the context of this? Was it just like, oh my gosh, Thor could beat Hulk, or how did everybody connect? What was I'm curious what the scene was like when you folks were.
Should I answer that, or do you want to take the first crack, Patrick?
Did you ever watch the movie The Matrix?
Yeah, of course.
Shame on you, bastard.
Take it away, Grant.
Sorry, that's a deep cut. I don't know what that is. That's a dig. It started with the Scottish comic writer Grant Morrison, who wrote Doom Patrol series and Animal Man, and then he started a series that was not with any pre-existing characters called The Invisibles.
Yeah, great.
The Invisibles had a fan site started by a man named Tom Coates, which I think was originally called. Wasn't called the Forum, but it was a bland name like that. But then it eventually turned into Barbalith.com. And Barbalith had message boards. And the message boards, the nature of the Invisibles was, it was kind of like you ever read Illuminatus or anything like there's a conspiracy war going on behind the scenes of reality that you only see bits of, and certain people have access to it. So like one of the rallying cries at the time was Grant Morrison would always claim that the Matrix ripped him off. Like he was in talks to turn this into a movie, but the Matrix came out and nobody we've already seen it. Bastard. But because the subject matter was anything and everything, because of the nature of the comic, the message board pretty quickly outgrew that and became just a general alt culture. Might have been in the same spaces like Disinfo, but it might have been in some other, anything that I describe it as, somebody's gonna write an angry email to me about.
Welcome to.
It was not that. No, what are you saying? That's crazy. But you would have
very DIY was one of the key things, right? So it was like this was before social media, but it had a kind of a social media ethos in the sense where so much of it was like how people interconnected, right? So it was split up according to interests, right? So that'd be like modern day groups, and then people could kind of bounce around between them. People can kind of keep track of each other, and you build bonds based on the mutual interests. Were you hanging out in the comic section? Were you hanging out in the magic and esoteric subject matter?
The temple was pretty well traveled, and I've heard. I heard from some old users, and I can't back this up, that David Bowie was in there.
Wow, that's a trip.
But nobody knew. I mean, we all had different names, and the software was not like off the shelf software. It was custom made, and that was part of the problem with the place. It actually made moderating it nearly impossible after a while. But
there was also like an ethos behind the moderation. It wasn't just a cookie cutter.
Oh yeah. The moderation was weird because every decision made had to be voted on by a council of, by at least 3 mods. So there's this cloud of moderators. And
an Illuminati, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. It was a smoke-filled room of
a star chamber,
looking at things on a queue. Like, oh, do you really want to edit this? Yeah, I guess that's fine. But it was not only possible, but kind of encouraged and expected for you to change your name every so often in an absolutely untraceable way.
Wow.
There was a way to tell who was who if you saw their previous comments in a conversation. Mm-hmm. And some of the more dedicated regulars would also like look up the URL of your user account, like your username, and remember what your profile number was from the address.
Okay.
But other than that, I mean, who is this Hell Child? Were they Pumpkin Blossom last week? Who's the frog? If you're into like rock and roll, Flux Blog is I think the first MP3 blog. That was a guy. That was his username. Was Flux equals rad originally, but then it became Flux equals all kinds of other stuff. It was just Flux was always the thing, the one thing you keep in common. Yeah,
there were a few comic podcasts that kind of were born out of that,
Yeah, Mindless Ones was big. They were big guys. Nick Harkaway, the guy who wrote Gone Away World, was one of the Barboth people. There's a lot of folks doing a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, and then there'd always be attempts to do like in real life meetups, even whether it's locally.
I went to a couple. A lot of it was based around London. It was mainly UK people.
Oh, nice.
But I did meet some folks in New York once. One of them came all the way from Australia.
Wow.
Adam Ford. It was really funny. Actually, I was in a place in Covington, Kentucky last year, and there's a really cool shop called Earth to Kentucky, which is a lot of comics, but also like what do they call it? Like modded action figures.
Oh, neat.
Like you can get I don't know. I think they had was it Public Enemy action figure set or an NWA action figure set, something like that.
Wow.
But they had some other ones, and I remember texting him when I was there. He lives in Melbourne, Australia. Like, hey, I just saw these things you'd really like over in this place. And he's like, oh, yeah, some of those are mine.
Oh, really?
Like he's in that scene. It's some scene where the modded, and it's like, oh, yeah, Earth to Kentucky. Yeah, they sell some of my stuff. It's there.
Oh, cool.
Which was like, oh, okay, freaky.
That's really cool.
But if you're ever in Covington, it's right across the river from Cincinnati. Go to Earth to Kentucky.
Neat.
Get your comics there.
Yeah.
All your action figures. I used to do that. I definitely Frankensteined my share of 8-inch Mego action figures.
Yeah. Yeah, these are like professional level. Some of them were really incredible.
Wow.
And they also had paperbacks. Like I really loved. They had some George Adamski paperbacks. If you're back into the paranormal stuff, he was the guy who kind of created the idea of the Nordic aliens who are our space brothers. These were like the original paperbacks that had his stuff in it from the 50s.
What do you think about the it's not declassification, I forget what they're calling it, but all the it's UAP now, right? UAP.
Oh yeah, unidentified aerial phenomena, because you got to have a more military sounding acronym, right?
Yeah, but the fact that supposedly more information is coming out and stuff, but it seems like a trickle to me. I mean, I would like to. I think it's not seen what I wanted to see. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think it's stuff that would be like in the bag, like a slam dunk for somebody who has this one idea of what a slam dunk is, which is, well, it's a report of something that could not be earthly technology.
Yeah.
That's what it is. There it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Can't draw any more conclusions. Just a thing we saw. Looked like a machine. It's going real fast. Probably wasn't ball lightning.
Yeah, I was hoping for like, I thought, I
Yeah,
was,
exactly.
You know, I was like, it's like, oh my gosh, they're going to say it all. And I get to actually understand what's going on and all this cool stuff. And
yeah, the more you get involved with like local politics, I think you also see that same mindset. Like, oh, somebody knows how this works, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's got the answer to this problem. Somebody's working on this, right? There's a committee. They produce these talking points I need, right? No.
Well, it's just like when
There's no committee.
The Phoenix Lights, how that was handled initially when you see the press conference that was at the mayor or whoever.
Right.
It was like, really? There was like this amazing thing going on that all these people were reporting and they just joked around about it. I was, anyways.
Well, what's the Alan Moore quote, right? That the even scarier conclusion is that nobody's in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That is my favorite conspiracy conclusion.
Have you guys seen that documentary on him, in the Mindscape of Alan Moore?
No, I haven't seen that yet. I really want to.
It is like just absolutely. I shared it to some friends and they didn't like it because I guess it was a little too cerebral. Like I didn't realize how deep it went. But
people accused me of that. So
oh yeah, it's a great movie. Just him talking about his life and his views and stuff, and it's really surreal. But yeah, Alan Moore. Wow.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah,
I mean, in a good way. In a good way. He's amazing.
I've been doing a lot of rereading lately of Neil Gaiman.
Okay.
Because Sandman on Netflix, and then read the Sandman run. And the more I read it, the more I realize like he really is kind of following Alan Moore a lot. Like his footsteps. Once you get into like Alan Moore like trivia. Not trivia, but like the lesser known stuff, like his second run of Swamp Thing or whatever, second volume of Swamp Thing.
Yeah, I took BBC has their master class called BBC Maestro, and my wife got for me the Alan Moore course.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm watching them like, okay, it's neat, and he's just so surly, and it's going through, and then okay, they're gonna get to the comic book writing part, like, oh, this is me, and like the first thing is like, look, I highly recommend you don't get into the comic book industry.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, like, but if you have to, and it's not my fault if you do. But he talked about some fascinating things. Like he talked about the specific word count per page. So
nice.
The ratio between words and all that.
Yeah.
And but man, the whole thing was like, you get it for the comic book and there's just like 15 minutes, where he's just like, I really don't think you should do this. You know, if you do it, don't hold me to it. But yeah, I love Alan Moore, and my favorite thing is in that documentary he goes how writing and creating is magic, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He goes, that's why to cast a spell, you have to spell words. And he goes that there can be no culture without cult.
Yeah.
Or occult, and you're just like, oh yeah, all this stuff was right in front of me. I just didn't take it.
Yeah. Big. The spelling thing is something that means a lot to me.
Personally. Oh yeah. Definitely.
It's so weird how, no matter what language you speak, I think the word for magic always there's something adjacent to language.
Mm-hmm. Well, if we're on the subject, then let's put it this way: to what either one of you are willing or comfortable seeing, what's one of the weirdest or most out there, like paranormal kind of thing that you experienced that you could say in this venue, or that you would be willing to say?
Where I grew up on Long Island, Long Island, New York City, not New York City, Long Island, New York, home of the Amityville Horror, home of Pilgrim State Mental Institute, where they did the first electroshock therapy, and right. So we just grew up in these locally, there's a Lake Ronkonkoma, which was purportedly a haunted Native American lake where there was every year someone would die because the spirits would suck them down. Wow. The freaking I lived at the bottom of a hill from a convent, right, that dominated the whole town I lived in, and that convent was surrounded by forests, and so we'd go in there and we'd find these mysterious little little graveyard with tiny little gravestones, like, what is that? So I mean, I don't know, am I misremembering that? Who knows? But yeah, haunted town, haunted childhood, we lived on a pretty after moving out of New York City, we lived in the suburbs with enough land that we had a little bit of a forest in our backyard.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Great in the summertime, but terrifying at night when, maybe that's Bigfoot knocking on the window because it's windy,
Totally.
So take your pick, Curtis. There's
So
a whole I can tell you this, that when I went to go visit, they remodeled the Amityville Horror House. So
really,
you can't quite
But it's
see
still
the
there?
eyes. It's still there, but you can't quite see the eyes anymore.
Okay.
eerie. Wow. And-
Yeah.
Well,
I
that's
don't
what
have
I got.
anything dramatic to point to myself. So,
Okay. Yeah.
lights that I can't really explain, but maybe they're explainable. I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of things, feelings in areas that you
Mhm.
later learn, like maybe you should have been feeling something a little weird there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trusting that inner voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something strange going on there.
Yeah. I've experienced a fair amount of stuff, and I was talking to my wife, and at one point she goes, like, I kind of took like, well, things like that happen, and then she's like, no, not so much, like not that often, to most people, like like you're kind of attuned to.
I have this running conversation with my wife about frogs, raining frogs.
Uh-huh.
Like when you remember the movie Magnolia?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's home, she's gonna do that. Like, and the kid says, "This really happens."
Uh-huh.
Like she thought the movie Magnolia was super boring because everybody knows that happens.
Oh yeah.
That's a thing that just happens, right? My mom used to talk about that. And we'd go out, it would be raining and there'd be frogs everywhere. It'd rain frogs, sure.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it doesn't happen.
It never happened in New York.
Yeah. That's classic Charles Fort, like weird phenomena.
Oh yeah, there's the thing that, and this is bringing it back to the Kung Fu thing, right? The kind of the thing that we don't talk about in Kung Fu, but we're talking about here on the Comics Fu Show.
Yeah, there you go.
Is the spiritual Kung Fu, right? Which is they call it the Sanggong, the spiritual work,
Right.
Like we always talk about, okay, there's the base level, there's the physical, the internal, usually associated with the chi, but then there's the whole spiritual practice, and to be frank, kind of the occult practice, and that's a whole thing that like really we don't talk about, but there's definitely people and sifus and grandmasters that dabble in that, because if you're trying to achieve enlightenment or power, right, that's like that next tier, And I'll never forget, it was at Grandmaster Lily Lau's tournament, the Eagle Cup 2 in 2007. I was there, and there was this one. I don't want to mess with those people, but I'll speak around in circles. But there was this one grandmaster who I knew from his students dabbled in the occult aspect of Chinese martial arts. Like it was just a given. Like everybody knew this, and he was very high level. And I had heard about one of his top students in the community, from friends for years. And I was walking through the Patrick, I would imagine you might have been there, but that was like 2007. Lily Lau was in Oakland. I don't know, maybe the convention center or some place. It's a big place, and it's a martial arts tournament, so people are screaming, yelling, weapons.
Yeah.
So I'm walking through with one of my friends, and I see this one grandmaster's student who's a sifu through the crowd. I mean, we're talking maybe like 6 or 7 car lengths in the middle of the tournament. There's no way he could hear me talking. And I see him through the crowd, and I say to my friend, I said, "Hey, that's Sifu so-and-so. I hear he's really good." And through this crowd of people, his head snaps aside, and he just stares at both of us, and he's just glaring at us through the crowd. And it was like, oh my God.
That was a compliment.
Yeah. It was just absolutely jarring. And you just know there's no way this person could hear. And it wasn't like you just kind of casually like, oh, looks over. No, it was like a head snap. Who's talking about me? There's a disturbance in the force, that kind of thing. And that's, I would love to do a whole podcast, but I wouldn't want to awaken the dragons about that aspect of the martial arts stream, because it's deeply fascinating. Yeah. But nobody talks about it.
We would have to perfect the pixelization and the voice modulation.
We'll just like turn off the light and have my silhouette. Yeah, and have the voice modulation. Yeah.
I was at a Kung Fu tournament.
Yeah. But you'll know it's me when all of a sudden it's like, so did you know that Hulk 181 isn't the real first appearance of Wolverine? It's actually a Hulk 180. Oh. I think I know which person that is.
Have either of you guys watched Alchemy of Souls?
No, what's that?
Korean K-drama?
No.
It's silly fantasy, but it's fun. It's fun. It's really well made, but it's got kind of that different kung fu schools.
Yeah.
It's Korean.
Uh-huh.
Not kung fu, but
Sure.
so like
It's
swordsmanship as mastery of energy spell casting.
Oh wow.
Stuff.
Yeah, no,
It's
I
cool.
know.
I think it's on Netflix.
So it's Alchemy of
Souls. It is very K-drama. Like there's a guy who looks like one of the members of BTS. On hair, sort of a androgynous sweetie boy face.
Yeah.
But they're all like, we'll whip out swords at you in a minute.
Nice.
You know, it's
And
funny.
there's a lot of spiraling chi too. You talk about spiraling chi. There's a lot of like raising Danchen power out and flicking it out. Like that's kind of what the first season is all about.
Oh, I gotta check that out.
I thought, yeah, we were talking with Gene Ching, who because Curtis, I don't know if you know, but Grant has also written for KungFuMagazine.com. So
Excellent.
Right, .com I did, yeah.
Excellent.
But he was talking about the rise of all of K media in all its forms and how it's just everywhere right now. So
Definitely.
I think I kind of dropped. The last thing I watched on that front was The Kingdom.
Oh, that's
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, Hangul versus versus zombies?
Yeah, you'll see some similar architecture and kind of dramatic scenes in this one. There are zombies in this as well, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, and this made the list of your top fight scenes.
Yes,
we spent this whole hour talking about so many things.
The scene where the main hero, Ook, has to bring a special dog, into a house. Well, it's a palace and it's a spirit dog, but yeah, and he's surrounded by. It's a good fight scene. It's
cool. What else do you have on the list? I'm curious.
Oh, what else did I have on that list?
So here we have, Jet Li taking on an entire precinct of French police.
Oh yeah, that's one of the very few good American. No, it's French really, but
it's French. Yeah,
Western produced Jet Li movies that actually is good.
Yeah, I really like that, and that
But in traditional American tradition, we'll take credit for that, right?
Of course, just like we take credit for the French fry.
Yeah. Pomfret, what's that?
Exactly.
So yeah, Kiss of the Dragon. I remember that weaponized acupuncture.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
They pushed him too far, man. Shouldn't have done that to his brother.
And then we've got what else is on the list is the girl warming up her street food Tai Chi Chuan style in Kung Fu Soccer, a classic.
Shaolin Soccer, yeah.
Shaolin Soccer. How could I buy? Well, it's part of my brand that I mix up words, so
it's part of mine too.
Yeah.
And that was great. I love
Shaolin Soccer, man.
Insane.
I noticed while making this list, like a lot of my choices were all like kind of special effects heavy, which is a little weird. Like I didn't think I would do that. The Jet Li's not, I guess, but
yeah, that one was
right. RRR. That's a pretty special effect. Have you seen that one yet, Curtis? I think.
Yeah.
Yes, we talked about that a little bit.
Tigers and all sorts of crazy stuff and fire.
Yeah. The dude throwing the panther or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The leopard.
Yeah.
Tiger or somebody.
Why not?
Have you guys seen any of the movies by any of that director's other movies?
I haven't. Are they good?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I've seen, what is it? Bahu. I don't even want to try and pronounce it considering how I'm going these days, but there's one that's more period set, fun. It's got that like humor. It's very Marvel, Bollywood Marvel, because it's like funny and action, and it's like playing off that. I mean, the thing is that has the MCU done a musical sequence yet, like a dance sequence in any of their movies?
Kind of in the Eternals, they had one, but it was kind of like tongue in cheek because he was.
That's right.
Yeah, they were definitely nodding towards Bollywood there with the one guy with his little assistant kept filming everything.
Yeah,
Kumail Nanjiani, right? That was a slick way. I should have remembered that because I think I wrote a sentence specifically about that when I reviewed it. But
Yeah.
but not like a genuine earnest. I mean, Ms. Marvel nodded at it a little bit.
Yeah, and then on the DC end, right? Supposedly the next Joker movie is a musical, more or less, from what I understand.
That's an interesting choice. I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
have either of you seen the Jet Li movie? I forget the U.S. name, but it's called Fong Sayuk Part 1. It's he did it. Fong Sayuk was like a kung fu folk hero.
Yeah, it's Once Upon a Time in China, right? I think that's what it's called in
America. No, that's Wong Fei Hong.
Okay, Wong. Sorry.
Yeah, but the Fong Sayuk one is the first movie. Has probably my favorite fight scene of all time. Super imaginative. The deal is the main character is trying to win the hand of this girl for marriage, and to do that, he has to beat her mom in a kung fu duel on top this huge scaffolding. But the rule is whoever's feet touches the ground off the scaffolding loses. So the battle starts on the scaffolding gets destroyed, and there's just this crowd of people, and they finish the fight running across and fighting on the heads of the entire crowd. And just, oh my gosh, just to this day, it just holds up so well. Just absolutely brilliantly executed. Just one of my favorites of all time. So
there's a little bit of that in Iron Monkey, I think, which is also the other folk hero.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I remember the pilings that were burning.
Yeah. With Donnie Yen.
Yeah.
That movie's great. Good stuff. Definitely.
Yeah, that was like the prequel series for Wong Fei Hung, right? It had
right.
The little child, Wong Fei Hung.
Yeah, and the little kid are up.
Exactly. And that's why I ended up studying the Hongga style, because I saw Once Upon a Time in China and all that stuff. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be doing cartwheels and like backflips and jumping kicks and the no shadow kick, right? That he does. So my Sifu one day, I was talking to him. I was like, oh, I want to learn the no shadow kick. Oh, you want to learn the no shadow kick? And he just covers my eyes and like kicks me in the stomach. No shadow kick. I was like, that's it? Like, it's not like you're floating across. Like, no, it's like an alliteration. Like the no shadow means it doesn't have a telltale sign. So you disguise. They say that the hand lies, the foot tells the truth. Oh, okay. I was really hoping I would be flying across the room, but
the hand lies, the foot tells the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or in the West, we say talk to the hand. That's the
yeah,
exactly. But yeah, great stuff. Love those films.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think talk to the hand. I think that's a pretty solid way to wrap up our hour here.
Almost boom.
We might have to adopt that from now on. What do you think, Curtis? We'll have to workshop that a little bit.
Yeah, do a little, like pivot or something like that, and then.
Yeah, it's a good wipe.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, or like one of these. I can't do it because I'll knock my microphone over.
Exactly.
Don't do that.
But this is really enjoyable, Grant. It really,
thank
really,
you.
yeah. I feel like we could just keep going and going and going, but
I feel like
we can get this again. Definitely.
Yeah, thanks. Once again, I mean,
intro
Grant and I keep in touch via text or random streams, but it's always a pleasure to just, hear the voice, have the conversational flow.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I like the way you can't tell where it's going to go.
Yeah.
At least for me.
Exactly.
I'll write down some points, but I won't go there.
Yeah, well, we had, the only thing we didn't talk about was, Epi Thatcher incarnation of Grendel seizing the collection.
That's another hour.
Yeah, well, because we had Eli Schwab on the other day, and he does a podcast that's specifically focused on Grendel.
Oh, really?
So yeah,
I'm gonna have to tune into that.
It's called "The Devil Is in the Details."
Yeah. Oh well, that's a good name.
And so, I have to catch up on it, but he does they've gone from issue 1, and then every time they reach like an end of an arc, they've had Matt Wagner or some of the creative team on.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, he seems like he'd be a nice guy.
He's cool. I mean, I because he's when WonderCon was in the Bay Area, he was a regular institution. So
nice.
We cross paths, and he was always very amiable and just willing to chat, whatever. You could stop him at the water fountain and just start discussing mythology, and he'd be down.
That's cool.
Yeah, if you're ever, I can't say that he's like an American answer to Alan Moore, but he's like kind of strangely parallel without being very erudite, and I don't know. But there's a lot of comic book artistry in his books, but it's not like, look, I'm being artistic. It's more like, got a lot of like indie guys to do a sort of mainstream, not exactly superhero book. They're really
also.
Yeah.
His title Mage, where he
that was kind of semi-autobiographical,
right? And with a lot of the whole messing with the archetypes and
Lancelot, or Sir Galahad was a black girl from the inner city with a baseball bat. Remember that?
You remember it better than I.
Yeah.
So we'll have to arrange to get you onto The Devil in the Details. Get you a guest spot.
All I'll say is, I like that. Oh, that one was good too. I like that one.
Be the hype man.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, excellent.
Well, this is how we usually do things, Grant. We usually sign off here, but then on the show we actually play some what we consider the closing credits,
right?
And then we do like a little Marvel-esque kind of special something, which hopefully I can find in those couple of minutes while the trailer plays.
Well, I'll handle the trailer duties. Absolute pleasure. Is there a specific site that you want us to direct people to for you, Grant?
I think Patrick put one up there, but
okay.
Guild of Scientific Troubadours is kind of where I am.
All right,
that's me.
Excellent. Very good. All right,
and then should make it look prettier. It's still like it's more than 10. Good Lord, how long have I been doing that? 18 years? I don't know. A long time. 12 years? I don't know. Too long.
Don't worry, that the aesthetic will circle back around any minute now,
Blogs are back, email is back.
Yeah.
Why not?
There you go. Well, good. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Definitely.
Thanks again, Grant. Good luck in your next endeavors.
Thank you. And you made the tigers run into the rabbit.
There you go. Take care.
Awesome.
Bye. Excellent. And before we close out, Patrick, just remind everybody where they can find. We'll show the information, but don't forget to check out Patrick's.
Me. You can find my work at Kickstarter at tigerstail.com. Actually, now that I mention it, I wanted to announce. What we could do is an after credit sequence. I have a special add-on, brand new, that I want to announce. So we could do that. Okay. After we've played these credits. So stick around to find out what that's about.
All right. Well, then I'll start that, and everybody check out my campaign as well. On Kickstarter, Shadow Ghost. Just type in Shadow Ghost, and we got that new stretch goal again. So you want to have your own kind of film credits. That's part of our next stretch goal. So it's really cool stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and play the trailer so you guys can see a little bit about what we are doing, and then when we come back, Patrick has special update. So thank you very much, everybody, and go ahead and check this out.
Hi, I'm Lugo, author, illustrator, comic creator, and the art director for Kung Fu magazine for more than 20 years. But I'm here to talk to you about a project that's really special to me. It's the middle grade graphic novel, A Tiger's Tale. Imagine the story of tigers and dragons and martial artists and monsters. So when I launched the campaign for A Tiger's Tale Volume 1, I did not know what to expect. But it succeeded thanks to a group of passionate backers. It was also awarded the Make More Comics art grant that year and was later featured as part of an art gallery exhibit And that's why I'm coming to Kickstarter, to cover production fees, printing, copy editing, things like that. Books completed, with the exception of a few pages I've set aside for color over the course of the campaign. This turned out to be a popular feature of Volume 1's campaign, so I thought I'd bring it back for Volume 2. I think it's going to be great fun for everyone. Hope you'll support the campaign. I'm very excited about it. Thanks for stopping by.
As a kid, I loved Kung Fu movies. So I went to Chinatown, trained with a wise teacher, and became a Kung Fu master. Sounds simple, right? Not really. My journey, like the study of Kung Fu, was as arduous as it was rewarding, filled with as many secrets as revelations and as much heartache as triumph. It's a defining moment in my life, and while I began studying Kung Fu to learn how to fight, what I discovered was a way to live. Martial arts never came easy to me. I was far from talented, and even farther from being the chosen one. It was only through years of tenacious perseverance that I was able to make steady progress. And so, I was surprised when my master told me that I should teach Kung Fu and share the art outside of Chinatown. I did just that and taught Kung Fu to my own students for 20 years. I always wanted to do more to share the art of Kung Fu with others, but was limited by only being able to teach those within my immediate area. What about the rest of the world? Then one day, I had one of the deepest insights about Kung Fu. I realized that the punches, kicks, throws, and myriad of martial maneuvers are merely the delivery system for the true essence of Kung Fu, the philosophy and way of life. Having worked for years as a professional artist and storyteller in film, animation, video games, and comic books, I realized that I could draw upon this unique skill set to share my passion for Kung Fu with the greater world. And so I created Shadow Ghost, a Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master. The first issue is created entirely by myself, from story and art to colors and lettering. Every panel is filled with unprecedented accuracy in its depiction of Kung Fu by a comic book creator who knows from first-hand experience what it means to be a Kung Fu master. Shadow Ghost is a martial arts coming-of-age story about a young man whose search for the truth about a legendary hero leads him to study Kung Fu, and through a twist of fate, becomes part of the legend himself. For the first time in comic book history, you can immerse yourself further in each issue with Kung Fu skills technology, powered by Tiger Crane Kung Fu. Scan the QR code at the back of the comic and follow an exclusive link to an online instructional video where I teach you Kung Fu techniques featured in the series. With Kung Fu skills technology, you can do more than just read about the Shadow Ghost saga. You can become a part of it. The first issue is completely finished and ready for print. All that's needed is for you to make a pledge of support so that we can fund the printing of the first issue. Together, we can share the wisdom of Kung Fu with the greater world. Shadow Ghost is the story of Kung Fu. It's about the people, the art, the culture, and the philosophy. It's my story and the story of those that I've learned from, taught, fought, and loved. Join me and become part of the vibrant legacy in a place and time where we might not be the chosen one, but where we can make a choice to be part of something bigger and greater than just ourselves. I'm Sifu Kurtis Fujita, and this is Shadow Ghost, the Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master. And we're back.
We're back. So Kurtis, I just checked. Right now, my campaign is at about 101%. So nice. That's a nice, me in numbers, right? That's a nice little number. But I've been thinking about stretch goals, right? And I'm not quite ready to announce anything yet. But I did find something cool that I think I wanted to add to the campaign. Specifically, right? I want to add a new add-on.
Nice.
And so I've only got 5 of these, right? This is what I call my 12 monkeys sticker sheet. This was one of the secret rewards that I had for one of last year's reward tiers. for the Volume 1 campaign.
Yeah.
But
Love it.
I found out that I've still got 5 more of these, right? They're transparent stickers, they're die cut, 12 monkeys and the Monkey King. So I kind of announced it to my backers last night, and then I just added these to my campaign today as just this little extra special add-on, because for those people who like stickers, and plus, my very popular Sun Wukong illustration, that illustration has been a poster, it's been a t-shirt, it's available on almost anything in my online store, but now it's just like the centerpiece of these other 12 monkeys that I've come up with.
I like it. I love it a lot. I love like the difference in styles, right? You got that really cartoony one on the far upper right, and the baboon on the bottom, a little bit more illustrative. And then, that is awesome. I really like that.
Thank you. Yeah, I did all of these. This is how I'm teaching with the exception of Sun Wukong, which I did in Photoshop, right? This is how I'm teaching myself Procreate.
Nice.
By tackling I haven't in a while, but I would just tackle a new monkey and really kind of research it. So I can I have like a little file with a write-up on each one of these monkeys, the golden snub-nosed monkey, which was the one that's renowned for monkey-picked tea,
Yeah.
Although that's kind of not necessarily true. But that's another comic I'm working on, is the true history of monkey-picked tea. But
nice.
I'll have to go into that in the future.
That's great. I really like it. Excellent.
Thanks.
Really great silhouettes too. Great silhouettes on all of them. Really reads well.
It was, it's a trippy thing to try and be able to ensure a good, die cut as well. And the fact that they're transparent, so you could just kind of put a monkey anywhere.
Oh, nice. Okay, so it doesn't have that white border. It's actually.
Yeah, exactly. That was it was kind of hard to find a place where I can do transparent sticker sheet with the die cut at a good price,
Yeah, totally.
And only as many. I think I only originally printed out like 10 of these.
Okay.
So it's a rare printer that'll let you do that. So
that's great.
So anyway, limited edition, limited supplies, new add-on. I think I set it so that it'll only last a week, because actually I got inspired to work on a new sticker sheet, which I'm pretty excited on.
Nice.
But I don't want to spill the beans on that until next week. So this one's only for a week, and then the new one will come out, which I think will be pretty sweet.
Very good. And as a reminder, you can always change, your pledge and add these on after the fact. So even if you've already backed, right, Patrick, you can still go in and go ahead and.
That's right. That's one of the things that Kickstarter encourages folks to do is, keep, as opposed to just doing a billion reward tiers, keep the reward tiers more simple, and then just make add-ons an option for folks so that people can always come back and be like, ooh, I need more stickers in my life.
Definitely.
Or more ninja stars. I was talking to one of my backers who got the ninja star, which I put them away for safekeeping. I should have kept one handy, but yeah, it's always fun when a backer specifically picked out a ninja star. Those things are just it's like it's a game for me, like.
No, totally. And that's kind of the fun part. I mean, with things being the way they are, the fact that we can have all these offerings, we can access this kind of stuff is kind of neat, because, before all these kind of, direct printing kind of options and things like that, you'd have to actually be a full-blown company to access all these different things. But the great thing is now, like, individuals like yourself and me can do cool projects like this, cool one-offs, and that just makes it even more neat. So,
yeah. And I'm still working on a commercial specifically for that ninja star.
Cool.
Just we'll see if I can get it done in time with everything else that's going on. But
the campaign behind the campaign, right?
Exactly, right. Well, this is all going to the documentary, I guess.
Exactly. That's the monkeys are the documentary, years in the making.
Yeah.
You should calculate how many cups of coffee, right? It takes, or cups of tea.
Right, coffee. Oh, I could do a Venn diagram of coffee and tea, and which one, which one I did what on.
Yeah, work it into the budget. And the next one, the pie chart has coffee. It's like 30% of the graph will be coffee.
Yes, and sorry guys, I have really expensive tastes. But so anyway, yeah, I just wanted to share this little thing because it's something I had been quietly working on and wanting to make something special out of these 5 sheets. I'd rather them go out to people than to just be, under a pile of other things,
Definitely. It's better out in the wild, as it were. So.
Exactly. So let's put that away.
Great.
And
yeah.
I guess the last thing that I should also share is on this monitor. Mm-hmm. Oops, that's not the button I want. There it is. Sorry for the dead air, folks, but
all right, coming very soon. In about how much longer? About half hour? What are we looking at?
In an hour, in an hour, we'll have special guest JC Carter and his art team here. So that's gonna be a fun conversation.
Excellent. Shaolin Nunn in the house. So coming very soon. Well, good. Well, I guess we'll close it up here. If I can just share one more thing, just as a reminder, as I mentioned earlier, for the Shadow Ghost campaign, don't forget we have the new stretch goal of credits. You can be part of the end credit sequence to the campaign. So you have your name there. There'll be an online video with some motion graphics, also some music, all the great stuff. So if you always wanted to have your name in the credits of your favorite film, anime, something like that, this is the tier for you. This is the next level reward for all backers, digital and physical, and we're looking at the $4,100 mark for that. So take a look at it. And on that note, want to close it out?
Yes, we'll see you. We'll see you in an hour.
Definitely. All right, take care, everybody.
See you then.